The gap between the cheapest seat on a plane and the most expensive one isn't measured in inches of legroom. It's measured in how many times a human being says your name before you sit down. At the bottom, nobody says it at all. At the top, they knew it before you got out of the car. Same aircraft, sometimes the same flight number, two completely different species of travel. Let's find out exactly where the line moves. Airlines are one of the few industries that will show you your net worth back to your face in real time through a boarding process. Every group number, every fee, every extra inch of seat pitch is a receipt. So we're going tier by tier, from the middle seat in the back to the tail number that's yours and only yours. And we're going to look at exactly what changes at every price point, because it's not just comfort, it's how fast you get help when something goes wrong, and how much of your own time the system is willing to spend on you. You start at the bottom, in basic economy, on a $187 one-way ticket you found by comparing 4 different search engines and clearing your cookies to trick the algorithm into showing you a lower fare. You didn't pick your seat, the airline picked it for you, and it picked a middle seat in row 34, wedged between a stranger and the lavatory line. Your carry-on doesn't come free anymore on some airlines. That's another $35 to $65, depending on the carrier, paid at the gate if you forgot to add it online, where it jumps to $99. Boarding Group 9. You watch 6 other groups walk past you while you stand at the gate with your bag between your feet. And by the time you get on, the overhead bins are full, so your bag goes 3 rows behind your seat, which means at landing, you're the last person off the plane waiting for a bag you can see but can't reach. The seat itself is 17 inches wide with 28 to 30 inches of pitch, which is airline language for your knees will touch the seat in front of you the moment the person reclines. There's no seatback screen. There's a QR code taped to the tray table asking you to stream entertainment on your own phone, on your own data, on a screen the size of your palm. Water is free. Everything else, a $4 bag of pretzels, a $3.50 coffee, a $12 sandwich in plastic, gets tapped onto a card reader the flight attendant carries down the aisle, because even the snack cart has become a point of sale. If your flight gets canceled, you're on hold with a call center for 90 minutes, and the rebooking they offer you is 2 days later, connecting through a city you've never heard of. Nobody at the airport knows your name. You are a number in a queue, and the number moves slowly, and the agent behind the counter is reading the same screen you could see on the app, just with slightly more authority to ignore it. 1 tier up, you're the person who flies 4 or 5 times a year for work or for family, and you've figured out the game a little. You've got the airline credit card with the $95 annual fee, which gets you a free checked bag and priority boarding in Group 4 instead of Group 9. You paid an extra $40 for a seat with 2 extra inches of legroom, what the airlines now brand as Economy Plus or Comfort Plus, which sounds like an upgrade, but is really just economy with slightly less regret. You get on the plane fast enough that the overhead bin above your own row is usually still open. Small victory, but you notice it every time. The math here is telling on its own. That extra legroom seat runs $35 to $75 depending on route length, and the credit card's free checked bag alone pays for itself if you check a bag more than twice a year. You're not being treated like someone special. You're being treated like someone the airline doesn't want to lose to a competitor, which is a different thing entirely. If your flight is delayed, the gate agent will at least look at you when you ask a question, because your loyalty number pulls up a little more history than a first-time flyer's. It's not warmth, it's data. You've also learned the small tricks that separate this tier from the one below it. Booking on a Tuesday afternoon when fare buckets reset, screenshotting your boarding pass instead of fighting the app's spinning wheel at security, knowing which overhead bin toward the front of coach fills up last. None of it changes your seat width by a single inch. What it changes is the number of small frictions you absorb in a day, and at this tier, that's the entire game. Not luxury, just fewer little cuts. Now you're the domestic first-class flyer, or the elite status road warrior who's put in 50,000 to 75,000 miles this year alone, and the airline finally knows your name before you say it. You paid $412 for a first-class seat on a 5-hour transcontinental flight, or you used miles and a modest copay, and either way, you board in the first group called. Walk past the line that's still forming and drop into a seat that's 21 inches wide and reclines into something close to a lounge chair. A flight attendant offers you a drink before the door even closes. Not because you asked, because that's the script for this cabin. You get a real meal on a real plate, not a foil-wrapped sandwich, and if it's a longer transcontinental route, there might be 2 courses. Your bag came free. Your seat was picked the moment you booked. No gambling involved. If your connection is tight, the gate agent radios ahead, and more than once, you've watched someone hold a door for you that they wouldn't have held for the guy in row 31. The status you've built, 75,000 elite qualifying miles, is a common threshold for the top domestic tier at most major U.S. carriers. Buys you priority security lanes, a fast track through customs on the way back from Canada or Mexico, and a person on the phone within 4 minutes when things go sideways, not 90. What it doesn't buy you is a lounge with hot food and real drinks unless you also pay $650 a year for that separately, because domestic first class and lounge access are still, even at this level, 2 different products the airline wants to sell you twice. Cross the ocean and the tier changes shape entirely. International business class on a long-haul route runs $4,800 to $8,200 round trip between the U.S. and Europe, more like $6,500 to $11,000 to Asia. And for that price, the seat becomes a pod, a fully flat bed with a door or a privacy shell, sheets that feel like actual sheets, and a pillow that isn't a folded blanket. You're greeted by name at a dedicated check-in counter with no line, and a lounge agent walks you through security in under 6 minutes, using a lane that regular economy passengers don't know exists. Inside the lounge, there's a hot buffet, a barista pulling espresso shots, showers with real water pressure, and sometimes a spa treatment included in the price of the ticket. On board, a flight attendant memorizes your drink order by the second time you ask for it and remembers it on the flight home 3 weeks later if you're flying the same route. Amenity kits from brands you'd recognize in a department store. Noise-canceling headphones that actually cancel noise. The menu is printed on cardstock with a wine list a sommelier actually chose, and dinner is timed to when you want to eat rather than when the cart happens to reach your row. If the flight is delayed, an agent finds you in the lounge before the gate announcement even goes out, because business class passengers get rebooked first on the next available flight, sometimes on a competing airline if that gets you there faster. This is the tier where the airline stops thinking of you as a seat number and starts thinking of you as a relationship worth protecting, and where, for the first time in the whole staircase, the cost of the ticket starts to look less like a price and more like an insurance premium against wasted hours. Above scheduled airlines entirely, you land in the world of the occasional charter flyer. Someone with $8 to $15 million in investable assets who charters 4 to 6 times a year for family trips, deals that can't wait, or destinations no airline flies direct. A light jet, like a Citation, runs $3,500 to $5,500 an hour. A mid-size jet, $5,500 to $8,000, and a typical 3-hour domestic charter lands somewhere between $16,000 and $28,000 one way before catering, de-icing, or a repositioning fee if the plane has to fly in empty from another city first. Here, the entire relationship with time inverts. You don't arrive 2 hours early. You arrive 15 minutes before wheels up, drive directly onto the tarmac, and walk 12 steps from your car to the stairs. There's no security line, no boarding group, no gate agent, because there is no gate, just a private terminal, sometimes just a folding table with a clipboard. The crew waits for you, not the other way around. You can request the catering, choose the departure time within a 2-hour window, and land at a smaller regional airport 20 minutes from your actual destination instead of the major hub 45 minutes away. What you're really buying at this tier isn't luxury. It's your own schedule, purchased back one flight at a time, at a price that only makes sense if your time is worth more per hour than the flight itself. One step further, and you stop chartering one-off flights and buy into a fractional share or a jet card program, a $10 to $30 million tier of wealth where flying private stops being an occasional splurge and becomes infrastructure. A quarter share of a mid-sized jet costs $2.1 to $4.5 million up front, plus monthly management fees around $18,000 to $24,000, plus an occupied hourly rate of roughly $3,800 to $5,200 every time you actually fly. In exchange, you get guaranteed availability with as little as 4 to 10 hours notice, a consistent cabin and crew across every flight, and, this is the part people don't expect, the plane is sometimes not even the same tail number twice, because these programs share aircraft across their whole fleet, but the experience is standardized down to the temperature of the towel handed to you at boarding. At this level, a maintenance issue on your specific aircraft doesn't become your problem. The program simply reroutes another plane to you, often within the hour, at no extra charge, because that reliability is what the monthly fee is actually purchasing. You could fly from a small airport near your house to another small airport near your office, skipping commercial hubs entirely, landing sometimes closer to your actual front door than a taxi from a commercial airport would. The airline, if you can even call it that anymore, doesn't know your name. It's built the entire product around never needing to ask. And then there's outright private jet ownership, the tier that starts around $50 to $70 million in aircraft value and climbs from there, where you own the tail number and everything wearing your name on it. A long-range jet like a Gulfstream G650 costs $70 million new, plus $2 to $3 million a year in fixed costs, hangar, insurance, a dedicated flight crew on salary, before you've spent $1 on fuel. A 3-hour domestic flight burns roughly $12,000 to $18,000 in fuel and crew costs alone. At $100 million plus in net worth, owning the plane outright often costs more than chartering the exact same number of hours would, and people at this level know that math cold. They own anyway, because the plane isn't transportation anymore. It's an extension of the house, stocked with the same snacks your kids like, set to the same cabin temperature you keep your office at, carrying a bag you never have to pack because a spare set of everything already lives on board. There's no boarding process to describe because there's no boarding. You walk up the stairs when you're ready and the crew, who works for you and only you, has already filed the flight plan, warmed the cabin and loaded a manifest with exactly the people you told them would be coming. Nobody else. If weather closes one airport, the crew already rerouted before you even heard the news. Nothing is being sold to you at this altitude because there's nothing left to buy. The only thing separating this tier from the one just below it is that here, waiting for someone else's decision about your seat, your schedule, your comfort, has been engineered out of the picture entirely. Look at the whole staircase at once, and the pattern is obvious. Every dollar you add doesn't just buy a softer seat. It buys back a piece of your own time and a little more certainty that the system will bend toward you when things go wrong. At the bottom, you wait on hold. At the top, the plane waits on you. Everything in between is just the industry's honest answer to the question of what your hour is worth. If this opened your eyes to how differently wealth is treated, hit like and subscribe for more.